Welcome to the channel.
First time ever you're seeing the Iron Bros.
The first time seeing our faces. We'll give you a little bit of intro as to who we are so you get to know us a little bit. You want to kick us off?
For sure. My name's Jacob Wolcutz. Born and raised here in Newburgh, actually. Moved back from California. Yeah, grew up doing sports my whole life. Did football, basketball, baseball, all through kind of Pee-wee, pre-K, up until middle school, high school, and then kind of focused on basketball and golf in high school. Now that kind of being outside of sports in college, I kind of got a passion for doing kind of bigger athletic feats like Ironmans, ultrathons, triathlons. So the summer after I graduated college, I did a half Ironman here in Oregon. And for those who don't know what a half Ironman is, it's a 1.2 mile swim. It's a 56 mile bike ride right directly into a half marathon, so 13.1 miles. So did that last summer because this summer we took that summer off, got to put a ring on it. We got married.
What do you do for work, Jacob?
I am a registered nurse here at the local hospital. I work 312s. It's not too bad, 36 hours a week, but what's kind of tough with my schedule is kind of variable. So I could work like Monday, Wednesday, Friday one week, and then the next week it could be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the week after Saturday, Sunday, Friday. So very up in the air in terms of kind of a consistent schedule, which is kind of hard for this kind of process that we're about to do. But I mean, we've done it for 8 days now, and it's been fine. Yeah, it's been good.
Awesome. My name's Logan Hamby. I grew up in Washington, but I came down to Oregon, specifically Newburgh, to go to George Fox University. And I played sports all growing up. I have 2 older brothers, so it's kind of in our DNA just to play sports and be guys and do all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to play collegiate sports, either basketball or football. I ended up playing football at a D3 school. And while I did that, I also did engineering. So after I graduated from college, I married my best friend from school. We met on the first day of college. So big time there.
That's sick.
And then I became a manufacturing engineer here pretty close to town. And so I don't have any experience running kind of endurance anything. It's just been short sprint sports type activities pretty much my whole life. Yeah. So that's a little bit of my background. But like we said, we both live here in Newburgh. And how did we end up meeting?
So I think we met February of this year, 2023. We started going to a church here after me and Caitlin moved back up to Oregon, Red Hills Church. And we came to a young adult group one night, and behold, we met Logan and Liv there for the first time a couple months ago. And yeah, something just kind of clicked between us. And since then, we've been hanging out so much. We've been going to the river, going to the lake. I mean, a lot of double dates, and it's been a good time being able to grow that relationship together.
Yeah. It's been awesome. Jacob grew up in Newburgh, so Liv and I, when we moved back down here, we didn't know a ton of people, or at least kind of in that young adults community. Yeah. So finding them was a huge blessing in just the last however many months. It's just been awesome to be able to become friends with them. And the whole reason this is happening and this whole conversation is happening is because one night we were having kind of a double date thing, and we were sitting there having a conversation, and Jacob had mentioned that he had run a half Ironman previously, and that it was in kind of planning and kind of thoughts to do a full Ironman. And I was like, I'll do it with you. Like, I'm down.
Yeah, man. And I was kind of shocked at first. I mean, it's like 2.5 mile swim, over 100 miles on the bike. We were like, oh, let's do it.
It was like one of my first times hearing those numbers too. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Straight into a marathon after all of that. But we kind of both slept on it. And then we both texted each other the next day. It's like, are we actually wanting to do this? And then we were both like, yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess we're starting our journey here now.
How far into it are we?
Today's September 2nd. We probably started about 8 days ago, so kind of the later part of August. Kind of what we're doing right now, getting the training wheels going. We're going to do a mock marathon pretty much here in Newburgh, probably the last weekend of November, the first weekend of December. So we got about 12 weeks right now that we're going to train, and we just got done with our first full week of training. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. The legs were ridiculously sore last week.
Yeah.
But we're taking it at a nice slow pace, kind of trying to ease back into it.
Yeah.
And so I think the second week was a lot better. We just did our long run. We did 7 miles today, and it felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Honestly, it felt good. We kept a good pace. And so it feels like we're kind of in the thick of it now, and we're just finding our rhythm and starting to bump up the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, you'll see our numbers and our results, but we're just two average guys. Like, I mean, we're not out here to break any records, but we just want to be able to show, I don't know, the world that two common people like us having full-time jobs are able to get this training kind of squeezed into our life and be able to have like a good work-life balance, but also be able to strive for something that is so not far out, but it's a big goal.
Seems pretty unattainable.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially starting so far out in advance. I mean, we're probably a year out right now from when we want to do it. So
so I mean, you'll see our numbers, but we can go over this last week. Yeah? All right, let me grab my phone. So August 28th, that was this last Monday. Just a quick 3-miler, 31 minutes, average pace around 10:05, 10:10. That was our first ever morning run.
Yeah, so we're figuring out the schedule a little bit because like Jacob said, his is kind of all over the place being a nurse, and then I'm just kind of a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so to make the days work when he's working 7 to 7, we'll be getting up at 5 to run at 5:15, which is new to me, but that was the first day that we did that. And it worked out pretty well. Pitch black.
Oh, yeah.
Back roads, but we did it.
Yep, we did it. And I mean, it was a solid 3-miler. It didn't hurt too much. Only had a couple hills. The next day, I didn't have work, so we got to run a little bit later. A little bit later as in 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So we got an hour break from one day to the next. But that was just a 3.1 mile. It was a 10:30 pace, just right here in Newburgh. We took Wednesday off, so we got back onto track Thursday, and we did a 3.5 mile at a 10:08 mile pace, which that one felt pretty good. We got to sleep in a little bit with that one too, just because I didn't have work.
Yeah, and that one felt pretty good coming off the day of rest too.
Yeah.
Legs felt fresh.
And then, I don't know, for some reason, I just kind of wanted to do a quicker run yesterday on Friday, the 1st, but we did the same first loop that we did Monday, just 3 miles, but we were doing it at like a 9:20 pace with the hills. And I don't know, for me, I definitely could feel the difference between like 10:20 mile pace to 9:20 mile pace,
especially with the elevation. It was kind of a killer.
I mean, it was like 250 feet elevation gain, but when it was the elevation gains, it was just straight up. It was short spurts, but I mean, it got the heart rate going up pretty quick. I think my average heart rate between like that run and the run before, with only like a mile difference, I think it jumped up like 20 beats a minute for my average. It's just kind of crazy. But it just goes to show that we just need to keep training on like the zone 2 heart rate, just kind of that between 120 to 140 or even up to touching the 150.
Which for those that don't know, like myself until a couple weeks ago, zone 2 is...
That's your base running to kind of build up that aerobic training. You don't want to be pushing that heart too much during that training, and that's kind of like a building block. And so our kind of mentality is we want to have about 80% of this zone 2 training, and then about 20% of the week will be kind of that zone 4, zone 5. And so I feel like that one definitely constituted like a zone 4, zone 5 type of run. Yeah.
A good indication for us of like zone 2 is if we can have a conversation when we're running. Yeah. Where we're not exerting ourselves to the point of just being out of breath completely, but still pushing, but being able to like control our breathing and talk while we're doing it. Yeah.
And then finishing up this week, we had our long run this morning, 7.2 miles at a 10:03 pace, just running around Newburgh. Probably miles 0 through 4. I was feeling like okay. Then we got like that second high that we were talking about during the run from like mile 4 to like mile 5.5.
And then it dropped real quick.
Real quick. Don't know why, but I mean, we finished in hour 12. And honestly, like that's kind of our projections as to like what we're trying to run for the marathon, which I'd be happy with that pace the whole time, like 10-minute miles, or even just like 9:50, 9:52 mile paces, which would be golden. But our total mileage for the week was 19.8, so close to 20.
Close to 20.
And pretty happy about that. We'll kind of incrementally go up these next couple weeks, probably like 10% to 15% increase per week, and then have probably 2 weeks of tapering during the next 12 weeks. So we'll go like 5 weeks taper, another 5 weeks taper, and then marathon. But how are you feeling about this next week? We're kind of increasing the mileage a little bit. We're not increasing pace, still doing the same paces, everything, but
I feel pretty good going at that pace.
Yeah.
I feel like for the longer runs, it's just a little bit more of a grind it out, but I feel like my legs are starting to get used to it.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring out kind of that rhythm of how I want to run, where I want my feet landing kind of underneath me, and the speed of my steps. I've got a little bit longer legs, so I think it's a tendency of mine to want to like reach out and get big steps. So I think that's starting to come a little bit more naturally, and so they're just getting a little bit easier every single time.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing for me is just like making sure that I'm taking care of my body run, getting a little bit of energy, a little bit of food in me just beforehand, not too much, but enough to get me through it.
Yeah.
So I'm not just, running on empty.
Empty tank. Yeah. No, for sure.
So the long-term projection for this, like we said, mock marathon at the end of this year, 2023, in preparation for 2024 Ironman. Yeah. And that's why we have self-titled ourselves
The Iron Bros.
The Iron Bros.
Yep. Because, kind of at the beginning of this, I knew I was going to do one in 2024, but compared to my one back in 2022, I was like, all right, I had so much isolation in my training. I wish I had someone with me, but now that Logan's come to join the party and we're going to do it together, that's what Iron Bros are all about.
Absolutely.
Iron sharpens iron, am I right?
Absolutely. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah. And I've already noticed from like the one run that I did alone, it's going to be much easier to like have someone to do this whole process with. Not just that, but every single bit of it, every single portion of it. So we want to take you along for the journey. Right now, it's just going to be running for the next 4 or 5 months, something like that. Yeah. But then once that milestone is kind of complete, then we'll start mixing in swimming and biking and what that looks like for me, because Jacob has a bike. I don't. Yep. I can't freestyle swim, but
it's going to be a learning process, which is great because I get to teach a little bit, kind of like the little tips and tricks that I learned during my kind of Ironman process back in 2022. So being able to kind of foster that into your training, I think it's going to be super cool to see how you grow in that. And me too, because going from a half Ironman to full Ironman, it's completely different game. Sure. It's a lot quicker in the half Ironman compared to the full, and I feel like we'll be needing a tougher mentality going into the full. Yeah. But yeah, you guys will be getting into the nitty gritty. We'll be training for the next year. We'll be doing weekly videos for you guys, so it'll be good content. We got a drone that we're working with.
Stay tuned.
Yep, you'll be on the runs with us with GoPros, and yeah, we'll just go from there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
excited.
Cool. Dude, I'm hyped.
Let's go.
It's going to be a great experience.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yep. See you guys next week.
That was good.